Good afternoon. Today is Tuesday, March 9th, 2021. We are going to go through members charts because it is Tuesday. For those of you guys who are new, feel free to hit the like button. If you gain value out of this, feel free to hit the subscribe button. We go live every Sunday, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And what you see on the chart right now, BLNK was on the Sunday stream. I'm going to go through a few of these that were on the Sunday stream. Tesla 19% was on the Sunday stream. I actually got stopped out of this yesterday. I got in a little bit late and I was not comfortable with the position. API 27% short interest, and we had a little bit of a run today, 13%. OTRK 12.5%, SRNE 11.8%, CHPT 10.9%, CLVS 10%, and the list goes on and on. Okay, now first thing I'm going to look at for you guys is the NDX. This is the members that wanted, ride the bull members that wanted some charting done. And so what we'll do is we'll just run through this pretty quick. I'll try to keep this video short as possible for you guys, and I'll go ahead and put the timestamps underneath the video in the description. First thing I kind of see, just looking at the NDX overall. So we're looking at, this is the NASDAQ 100 index. And so what we're looking at, first of all, is we're looking pretty bearish the last few days. In fact, these last three candles pretty ugly. After this bear flag played out to the downside, and here you kind of see the flag played out to the downside, I did not like the close of yesterday, but of course they pulled a fast one on us. The support held, and then we rallied up this morning. So what do I think that this is going to go? To answer your question, I'm not sure, because I see a few things that are going on here. You have a high up here, you have a lower high, and now maybe we're going to come up here and back test this, the candle that broke down right through here, or we're going to back test these moving averages and maybe it will roll over. I don't want to say that it's going to roll over just yet. This is definitely more on the bullish side than it is on the bearish side, especially if we look at the large picture and you kind of see this uptrend. And so maybe this was the low and we're going to start pulling back here and making all-time highs. So I don't want to necessarily say that it's going to roll over, but at the same time, I'm not looking for all-time highs. Let's go to the Q, since it's also, let's go like this. Part of this index, what I see in the Q, same similar chart. And so you see where it pulled back to support. Yesterday, same thing, really ugly close. And now we're pulling up here back up to the either run and test of, or we're going to start making higher highs and higher lows out of this consolidation pattern sell off. Let's see what was the drawdown on this anyway? 11.5. So it was in correction territory. So this could be a dead cat bounce, or it is the real deal. It's too hard to tell right now. What I'd be looking for if this was the real deal are higher lows. Maybe if it can consolidate a little bit more and then break out, then I would be possibly eyeing a trade on the Qs to the long side. But until that happens, until I see a little bit of consolidation or some higher lows in here, I think I'm personally going to stay away. Doesn't mean you can't, you know, I don't have advice one way or another. If you want to trade it, that's all good. XPEV. I'm a little stuffy today because I've been breathing dust all day. XPEV. So what are we seeing here? We're up 11.3% on the day. That's about $3.05. And so this is kind of like, you had this pretty hefty sell-off in here. I do like this chart as far as where is this bringing us back to? Where was the support? Maybe it was a gap fill. Maybe it was this gap support in here. And, you know, price had a little bit of an issue getting through that area. It had to stop and then gap higher in the morning, and then it back tested that area. So that's why you can kind of see now the chart is starting to react with this area. So what I would be looking for, if this was, as far as the trade setup, if you are already in the trade, I would just keep moving your stop loss up to the next day low, or right below the next day's low. So maybe use this morning's low or today's low. With that being said, this could be another way of looking at this is it's going to do a dead cat bounce and then roll over again. And by the way, for this video, for the purposes of this video, I don't know if you guys are long or short, or if you're looking for a trade. So I'm going to try to give multiple scenarios for what it looks like the chart is doing as best as I can, but it doesn't mean it means that I can still be wrong. So that is your disclaimer for the video. I can definitely be wrong. 4-hour chart looks good. We're looking for our higher low. Let's go to the 1-hour. 1-hour chart looks good. We're starting to see the bull flags in here. You see one in here. It pulls back, faking everybody out yesterday. We rallied today, and now we're seeing a bull flag. It looks like it wants higher prices, maybe up in the 35 area. But one day at a time, let's see what happens tomorrow. IPOE. IPOE, the same as the last chart we just looked at. It looks like the bull flags are playing out. Maybe this one's a little bit higher of prices. Let's go to the daily. Daily chart looks great. I do like how it came back, and you kind of see why it came back and back tested this breakout back here. And it was like a very clean back test and rallied away from that area. That's what you want to see. That's bullish. Bullish behavior. Now we're coming up into some resistance right now. So let's see, maybe the chart can begin to do something like this. Maybe it will go a little bit higher into the moving averages, pull back a little bit, and then start to take off as far as if I was bullish. But just like the last chart we saw, this could be overall picture. Maybe we're going to do another lower high, and you'll begin to know that it's a lower high if we start taking out the lows of the previous day. And that's why I say use that area as a stop loss. It doesn't mean it can't come all the way back down here to back test around $14 and then rally again. As far as it's beginning to have more and more room to where it could and still be bullish. Like let's say we gap higher tomorrow, it could do something like that. I don't think it's as probable. I think that it would have really good support in that area just underneath these candles right here. Okay, IPOE. Let's go to LUMN. Beautiful run up. And why does this one sound familiar to me? We might have seen this on, somebody might have called this on a stream. So I do see a weekly reversal candle in here, and the thing is that on the weekly time frame, this can be a reversal candle. And so I'm going to do this and just kind of show you, highlight the candle that I'm talking about. This price action right here in this candle, heavy volume. And now what we see is we see a back test of the high of that candle, and it hasn't gotten there yet. If I was long in the trade, I would start scaling out of this around 1530. Well, let's see here. Possibly around 15. Well, two ways you could do this. You could just keep raising your stop loss up if you're already in the trade, or you could just start scaling out of the shares or contracts, whatever vehicle you're using. You could start to scale it out. There's going to be a little bit of resistance up in this area again, just like there was back here and back here and back here. The chart might need a little bit more time. It might need a little bit more time to do one of those and get going here. Or it is possible it becomes parabolic. Now we're looking at the daily. Back to the daily chart. And so we're coming into resistance right now. So maybe, like I was saying, maybe it wants to do this, but it is possible to have another green candle in here, just like we see in this pattern price action right here. And if I go down to a lower time frame, the hourly chart, let's kind of take a look at what it's doing. And now it's just riding this moving average. So one thing that to kind of watch is this 20 period moving average, which is the 20-hour moving average. And if price can keep bouncing on this 20 period and rallying higher, I'd be eyeing these prices up here, maybe around 1530 and up here at 1663 for sure, as far as some coming into some resistance. I don't know if I would be willing to take a long trade out of this. I'm not much of a momentum trader, but if you are, that's certainly acceptable. QCOM. QCOM, let's look at the daily chart, and you saw this pretty good sell-off here. Let's do a drawdown of around 26 to 30%. That's definitely bear market territory, and so I would not be surprised to see continued bounce out of here, but I also think that a little bit of damage was done on the daily chart, meaning this damage right here, and I think it would take a little bit of work for this thing to get going again. It might overall need some consolidation, and just like we see in a lot of the broad market might need here's a good example of this. You see this consolidation down in here, which probably didn't feel like it at the time because these run-ups are like, that's 50% up and then 40% down and then 50% up. So it might start to do the same thing. So imagine another year and a half of this, right? Because that's what we see down in this area. We see a few years. Actually, you got like 5 or 6 years or 7 years, however long that is. So you might start to see the same thing. And now maybe we're at the bottom of that channel or the bottom of the range, and so maybe we'll just kind of ping pong back and forth for a few years. Let's see what happens over the next couple months. I think that this stock will definitely be impacted by the broad market, so I'd definitely be following the Qs, follow the SPY, and let's see what it's doing. I do like this weekly reversal candle as far as this being some sort of a bottom. I believe that to be the case so far. So let's see what happens. It might have some resistance up here. If it does get going, it'll have some resistance around 140. And let's do this. Put it back on the daily chart. and that 140 area is like right in here. So you can see it a little bit better now. There's a lot of consolidation in here. There also is some gap, a previous gap area down here. So maybe it'll do that. There's another possibility that it could get going here. Let's say it starts to build up this energy. Maybe it'll gap higher just like it did back here. Maybe it'll have to gap over that area. Sometimes it likes to do that. So I would just take it one day at a time. If you're in the trade, just keep raising your stop loss. TLRY. Oops. TLRY, I like it. Same kind of behavior. And for this one, I'd possibly be following along with the MJ and see what it's doing here. But you can kind of see it start to coil here. I would not be surprised to see like an old, remember when Walmart kind of did this for a little bit? It created this smiley face. That's kind of what I'd be looking for something like this, especially when you had this pretty hefty reversal candle. I'd be looking for the smiley face kind of behavior. And it might psych you out along the way, but once it starts making higher highs and higher lows out of here, in which we've possibly begun the higher high, higher low scenario. One thing though is I do see lower highs in here, so maybe it'll create another lower high. So just be very careful where you enter the trade. I'd be looking for a pullback, a meaningful pullback to take it to the long side. Once it's up into this resistance like this, I'm not one to, start chasing price. That's not my kind of setup, but I do like the curling action. I think the curling behavior is a little bit more bullish than it is, definitely more bullish than it is bearish. Let's go to the hourly time frame, because the question comes into mind, like you see what could have been a low right here and it ended up not being a low. Now you see another thing in here where this could be another low. I like this bottom one more than I do the top one. And the reason why is you had this consolidation area back here. You can see where price ran up to this area. You can see where it broke out of this area. It's very clear. And if we extended that box over here, you can now see why this area is acting as support. So even if we came back down to that area, I think it will still be support around that $20 psychological. But just keep in mind though, if we do continue making lower highs, that too many bounces on this area, it'll eventually fall through. I don't think it will though. I have high hopes for the MJ sector overall. So a little bit of high hopes for TLRY. AMC. AMC, we see a little more bullish behavior going on in AMC, and it looks like after hours is up $11.18. So there was some sort of news, maybe earnings, whatever. I don't know. Yeah, earnings maybe. Let's keep it on the daily for just a second before we go to the overnight or the after hours. You can kind of see this behavior back here, and we can say that that's the meme stock behavior. Can we use these levels as areas of resistance? And I believe yes, we 100% can use these areas as resistance, as you see that it's what it's doing right now, right? Like it's having a hard time getting through that area because this is prior area of a breakdown. And so what I'd be looking for personally, if I'm not long in this trade, I'm looking for consolidation. To me, it's better sideways consolidation than it is consolidation in price, although it is possible because you see the moving average. It is following this 20-period moving average pretty well. So I would keep an eye on the daily chart and see what it is doing, but we're definitely coming into some resistance right now. Let's go down to that hourly time frame. And just like the last chart we saw, remember I was talking about the curling action? I believe we took a trade out of AMC back in here, and I don't remember where exactly it was, but anyway, so what we're looking for now is you can kind of see price ran up to this area right here. It's having a really hard time getting over this area. And let me do this. Let me turn on extended hours just so I can entertain myself. Here we go. Extended hours, we're up extended a little bit after hours. It's pulling back. That's the kind of consolidation we want to see. So it is possible that the chart needed an overnight session to gap higher to get above this resistance area. So maybe that's what it's doing right now. If we did gap higher in the morning, maybe we'll see something like this and a pullback to this previous area in here. So if you could draw a support or resistance across the screen right here, and I'll give you an actual price. Let's say hypothetically the support is 1090 or even 1056. The kind of trade that I would be interested in taking on AMC is if price could come all the way down here. Let's say tomorrow morning, 4:30, 5:30, 6:30. Market opens here at 6:30. So let's say tomorrow morning at 6:30, the chart opens and it shoots down to 1050. If it's a really fast momentum trade, that might be a good area to where we see price bounce out of that area as far as this being the resistance area. Maybe that'll be a back test. This is all speculation. Or maybe we just gap higher, gap in the morning and go, right? We do have a little gap and go. I think both scenarios we would want to we would want to narrow down those prices if either happens, and we're not going to know that till first thing in the morning before market opens. You can kind of see the prices develop a little bit more. I think we'll have resistance around 1329. And let's do one last thing with AMC. Let's go to the weekly time frame. And as you can see, it's just lower highs on the weekly time frame. This is a short seller's paradise, and that's why this name probably had a lot of short sell interest, not to mention the movie theaters and the virus. But so just on the weekly time frame, as you can see, we still haven't taken out the low of this candle, and I'm going to go ahead and do this for you guys so you can kind of see this a little bit better. So you see the low of this candle right here. We still have not come all the way down there. So to me, that's more bullish than it is bearish. If I drew a trend in here and said this was an area of a breakout, this behavior, even though this candle is an extremely bearish cloud cover kind of a candle, it didn't even come down and back test the low yet, right? We're rallying away from that area, which is a good sign. So that is a good sign for the bulls. Okay, let's go to MJ. MJ is probably a lot like TLRY. This is the weekly time frame on MJ, and I think we got involved back here at $11.50, somewhere down here. I'm already out of this. I haven't traded in a little bit, but I do see, just like the last one, possible lower highs. So where is this chart really ultimately, where is this chart headed? It might have already gotten to that point. It's going to have a lot of trouble getting through this area. As far as this was area of types of consolidation, this is definitely a breakdown area where the chart broke down. This could be the back test of that area, and maybe we resume down. One thing I think is probably more likely, though, is I think what's more likely is this is resistance, and we're just having a hard time getting through resistance. It might need more time before it can break out. As far as the weekly time frame. Daily, is there a trade in here on the daily? Just like the TLRY, I'd want to see that curling action. So don't feel the need, don't FOMO this, right? We don't need to FOMO it. We can just kind of be patient with it. Let it set up, and then let it start making higher highs, higher lows, and that'll give you the highest risk. That'll give you the highest probability, lowest risk trade setup. Uber. I think we bought Uber. For those of you who've been around for a little while, we bought Uber a while ago. I'm already out of the trade, but let's go to the daily chart. I do like this setup. Is this bearish or bullish? It's not, to me, it's not necessarily bullish until it can get above 57.70. And right now it's trading at 55.25. So even if it did get up to past that 50, and I'll do this for you guys so you can see. I got that price from right here, that breakdown right there. And that's probably a little high. That's okay, whatever. It's all conceptual, fine, just like that. And what we want to see on this is what we want to see it, because of where it just came from, it had one pullback and it's rallying up here. Even if we break out, it's not a trade that I would take. Now, if we created a lower high in here first and then broke out, I would take that trade. We have to just constantly look at where prices come from and just keep that in mind as far as how too soon, too fast, maybe 16% too soon, too fast. But maybe if we can get a little bit of consolidation in here. One thing is kind of for sure though, or not for sure, but likely, because we've been consolidating for a few weeks or a couple weeks in here, once we do get the breakout, and this is why I say it's okay to wait for the breakout, there's enough time coiling up where once the breakout comes, it'll be worth a trade. You don't have to be the first one in. And the same goes for the downside. There's consolidation in here. So if we broke to the downside, the very first thing I'd be targeting, the minimum target for this downside would probably be around here. I'd take out this low right here and come down to 45. I'd probably be targeting $46 if we broke down out of this. But again, because of where it came from the top of the range, and if let's say it's coming down to the bottom of the range, I would not take that breakdown. I would wait for a back test of some sort or consolidation and then take that trade, something like that. Okay, Uber, what was the next one here? But as far as like in the next couple days, this could really go either way. But we are at the top of the range, so it's kind of up to you if you want to take a trade. CCIV. CCIV, same thing with Uber as far as bear flag. First thing that I noticed, it's sold off. There was a bear flag, and now it could be targeting downward prices. And if it did, I'd be targeting this. Well, I'd first be targeting this 80 this $18.54, and the reason, and I'll do this, there was prior consolidation here. This was a breakout area. This candle right here represents a breakout, and that's probably a good area where a lot of traders stepped in to buy. So that's my next downside target, but not just that reason. You have this market symmetry, selling off here, bear flag, selling off to form a symmetrical pattern. And so charts really like that. You do have decreasing volume, which is not too concerning. If it did break down, this is the area that I want to pick it up, just below $20. And if it breaks out, you know, we don't need to be the first ones in this trade. We could just wait for it to break out. There's a few days in here of consolidation. So once we do get the breakout, first target is this target right here. And then you could literally just target each one of these pivots. First one is 2761. That's the first area that I'd be targeting to the upside. FSLY. All right, how much time we got? What are we running into? 30 minutes already? 20 minutes. All right. FSLY, we have a few more charts and we'll let you guys go. I do like this. I think that this is definitely can be bullish as far as we're at support and we're bouncing off of support. And the support I'm talking about is not that I like these downward trends, but this is over a bigger picture. We could, I mean, basically since July, we could call it a downward trend overall as far as this being some sort of pattern. But what else do we see in here? We see this pretty big up move in here. And so a bigger picture than the daily might be the weekly chart. So let's go to the weekly. Now you can see it a little bit better. This is the kind of pattern, bullish or bearish, right? Now, I'm not suggesting that we wait till we get to the top of the range, $120, to go ahead and take a long trade. But the member that reached out to me on this one did mention 6 to 12 month swing trade, or some sort of 6 to 12 month trade. And I would actually agree with that. You have you're coming into two different supports. This downward support here, there's horizontal support, which is a little bit more important than this sloping support. And I like these kinds of trades because it's very defined. You can define the resistance points very easily, right? And let me put it back on the daily. You can define these points very easily. And so I same areas, right? You have this consolidation here. That's the very first thing. We're actually going to come into this resistance pretty soon. And I would probably, not sure if this is the kind of trade I'd want to wait for the breakout, but you might wait for a dip buying opportunity in the next couple days. And the reason why, let's say you bought it tomorrow on a dip and you paid, let's say you paid 65 bucks. You could easily put your stop loss, maybe not as many shares, maybe just pick up a few shares to begin with, and you could easily put your stop loss down here at 56.87. And we're not that far away. We're about, I know it's a lot, like 11%, but just looking at the chart, we're not that far away. So what I would do is I would go really light. I wouldn't load, like, you know, don't spend $30,000 loading a position. Just pick up a few shares and then wait for the chart to play out, just to kind of get your feet wet a little bit. Wait for the chart to play out, create the higher lows, and pick up a few more, and just kind of average in. Once we get over this resistance and we back test that resistance and it turns into support, then you could probably take on a little bit more risk, if that makes sense. RNG, and well done spotting that trade setup. RNG, let's look at the weekly time frame. I like this as far as it pulling back to, this is a very good eye, so that you can see several things. One, there's this massive consolidation in here, so it's not very likely that we're just going to fly right through that area without some sort of market crash. The other reason why is this is a previous breakout area, so all price did was it came down to back test the breakout. Now we have a little bit of a challenge though, because on the weekly time frame we do have some massive resistance in here. So what this chart probably needs is a little bit of consolidation like this, and then once it can get going, you know, something like that. But this one might take a little bit more time to develop. Again, don't feel the need to just jump into it. I would definitely just kind of wait for it to set up, taking out some sort of high and then picking up the higher high, if that makes sense. Buying the higher highs instead of the dip buying. CMBM, and then one more chart. If you are already in this trade, well done. I'm not, this is not kind of trade I would want to pick up first thing in the morning unless we had a hefty pullback to like 39 bucks. Well done if you took this. Same kind of thing as the last chart as far as it pulled back tested. See how price had a really hard time getting through this area because this is prior consolidation, and immediately it got bought up. Now we're already all the way up here to 44.91. With that being said, we have a lot of room in here. We could easily come down to $40 and it would still be bullish, if that makes sense. If it did come down to $40 anytime in the next day or two, I think that we could definitely dip by this. Otherwise, I would want to see a lot more consolidation in here. I'd want to see it consolidate and then possibly draw a line across and then just set a trade alert. And then once it breaks out, maybe pick it up. But let's go back to the weekly time frame. Weekly time frame, yeah, it might need a little bit of time in here to consolidate. It doesn't mean it can't open up and continue higher. If you already are in this trade, just keep setting your stop loss up to the daily low of the previous day. So in this case, we'd set it right below today's candle, which was, we could set it to like 38.75, something like that. SFOR, last one. SFOR. Now, daily chart, this is phenomenal to me. Not that I'm a huge penny stock trader, but I do on occasion trade them. And don't mind that it came from 41,250,000. Probably offerings, you know, a bunch of reasons. Okay. So daily chart looks phenomenal, and we did have a run from, it looks like 0.002 cents. Let's do this so I can really kind of just pull it up. There we go. That's a little bit better. So back on 12/7, it was trading at 0.002. It had a run up of unbelievableness, and then it traded sideways for quite a while, and then we just had this recent run up of, again, 300. Well, now it's 394%. And so it's just working off some of that steam. I like this price action behavior. This is definitely more bullish than it is anything else. This overall pattern was this giant up move, giant bull flag pattern. Giant up move is usually the resulting what it results in. But for me, I personally would be looking for and targeting this. Like maybe you could, well, actually there's two ways you could do this. You could, I don't know how you want to draw this flag in here. It's more concept. So you could just draw across like this, just to give us an idea of like what prices we'd want to pick up. If any pullback I think is buyable, I think you can accumulate this. I think it definitely needs a little bit more time. Definitely needs a little bit more time, but I think you can accumulate this. Another way is you could just set the trade alert. You could just draw it across like this and wait for the actual breakout. It's just having a little bit of time, trouble getting through this moving average here. But let's go back out to the, so this is the daily. Let's go down to the hourly. Okay, hourly time frame, and you start to see a lot more volume in here. So this was a really good area to get into, and probably the broad market helped this thing trade off down a little bit to better prices. But as you can see, I think any pullback is buyable, but I don't think you need to rush. I think you have all the time in the world. I think that you could easily wait for a breakout, but it looks like it's about ready to go. It might need another day or two. It looks like it's about ready to pop out of here. So I appreciate this chart. I'm going to put this on my watch list. Well done for those of you guys who are in it. Feel free to like this video if you guys have gained value out of this. Remember, this is only my opinion. I am not saying these charts are going to do anything special. I'm just saying that from my viewpoint, what they look like. So make the trade your trade and do your own research, due diligence. We will see you guys in the next video.